Stage Fright came out in 1950 and is directed by Alfred Hitchcock. He's back on the Golden Hour Film Podcast. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Golden Hour Film Podcast. My name is Harry Bailey, joined by my co-host and our guest host Shane Mulvaney. Shane, Hitchcock's back on the podcast, another arc covering Hitchcock's filmography. How are you and are you excited?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I think the 40s, basically every time we cover Hitchcock, in fact, there's always a great reception, a great kind of level of interaction. I think people are always excited, and yeah, I've seen every movie that we're going to be covering over the next 10 weeks. So I'll be interested to see how some of them, well, basically how all of them really live up to kind of my previous viewings. And does it go up, does it go down? I've seen a couple of them a few times, so yeah, I'm confident they'll stay the same. But for example, this is Stage Fright. This episode I'd only seen it once before, so we'll get on to my thoughts and stuff. But yeah, has it kind of evolved over time? And yeah, it's the master of suspense back in the podcast. Who doesn't like that?
Yeah, so there's a few films from Hitchcock's 50s films that I haven't seen. I haven't seen this one up until recording this episode. I haven't seen I Confess, and I haven't seen, ironically enough, The Trouble with Harry. I've seen the rest of the ones that we will be covering. And as well, in this episode at the very end, we will be doing the draw for the Classic Film World Cup. Get excited, get very excited. We'll be doing the Classic Film World Cup after we cover Hitchcock's 50s films. But in the meantime, 1950, Alfred Hitchcock drops Stage Fright. He's back in Britain. Big Ben's in this film. It is a very enjoyable film. I won't lie to you on a first time watch. In my spoiler free review, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Hitchcock's best works are amazing, but there is something to be said about how enjoyable his sort of C to B level films are too. I would put this in that sort of bracket. In the 40s arc, we covered films like Saboteur and Foreign Correspondent that are just really enjoyable to watch. It's not the greatest film you've ever seen in your life, but it's very enjoyable. Yeah. And this is just that. But my particular affinity for this film is it's a really enjoyable film made for fans of murder mysteries and fans of those kind of like daytime suspense thrillers. Your Father Browns, your Mrs. Marples, but like ahead of the time. It was obviously more so made for people who read Agatha Christie's books back then rather than watching the TV series these days. But I really enjoyed it. We have a host of people in this film. Marlene Dietrich. It is, unfortunately for the awards, not her podcast debut. She was in Touch of Evil, but she is in this film. It's our first time properly covering her, I feel. The lead actress in this film is, of course, Jane Wyman, who is in a bunch of things. And I think this is her podcast debut. She was actually married to Ronald Reagan, fun fact. Yeah. We also have, of course, my favorite actor in this film. Can you guess who it is?
Alistair Sim.
Alistair Sim. I love Alistair Sim in this film. Of course, most famous for playing Scrooge, but he is so great in this film. He really Alistair Sims it up, which is something I've always wanted to say on this podcast. He is delightful in this film. I feel like he would have been great in Star Wars. He was born way too early. He would have been a great person to have in Star Wars. Is Alistair Sim, I should say. And of course, last but not least, we have Michael Wilding, who looks a lot like Alan Cummings in this film. And we have Richard Todd, who is the wrong man. It's a wrong man thriller. Is he the wrong man? We'll get onto that in the spoilers, of course, because it is a murder mystery and we don't know where this is going to go. But it plays out as a wrong man thriller, which is kind of Alfred Hitchcock's bag, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. How about you, Shane?
Yeah, I've seen this obviously before, like I mentioned. Really enjoy the beginning and the ending of the movie. Was my memory, and then in the middle is probably a big kind of bag of disappointment in the middle, where it felt like it kept kind of hinting at something very interesting, and then maybe just kind of being a slightly more boring version of what it could have been. That was my memory of it going into this, and yeah, spoiler free reviews obviously, but my feelings didn't change too much, I have to say. The beginning, the opening scene where you actually see the two of them on the lam, essentially, and he's recounting what actually happened, his version of events, is really, really interesting and really, really kind of gripping straight out the bat. And then the ending is one of the best endings, I'd say, of like Hitchcock's kind of mid-level careers outside of his like big best movies. Really, really kind of loving the ending on the first watch, and definitely would agree with that in the second viewing. Yeah, I would agree with you as well that Alistair Sim is the best part of this. I think that Michael Wilding, that's his name, isn't it? Michael Wilding, he's also under Capricorn, and look, he's fine in both movies. He's not the issue under Capricorn.
The issue with Under Capricorn is just boring as hell.
It's just terrible. Which isn't a Michael Wilding issue so much as it's just everything issue. In this, like, he's fine again. Like, I wouldn't say he particularly stands out, but he's fine. Alistair Sim is definitely the MVP of this movie. But yeah, I think let's put it this way: my thoughts from the first watch to second watch to this watch didn't change a great deal.
And before we get into our spoiler-filled reviews, please, on YouTube, let us know, outside of what we've covered and the 50s, what Alfred Hitchcock film you'd like to see us cover next. Is it 39 Steps? Is it Frenzy? Is it Topaz? Let us know in the comments below. But in the meantime, it's time for our spoiler-filled review. So, Shane, I ask you, of course, Shane, Stage Fright from 1950 from Alfred Hitchcock. What's it all about?
Yep, so we open with Eve and Jonathan in a car together. They're friends, they're quite friendly. He is on the run and it becomes clear that he is suspected of a murder, which he says he did not commit. So he kind of recounts to Eve what he says happened, and he says that, like, he walked in on Charlotte's husband, Jonathan, who is the victim of this crime. He says he walked in on him already dead. And so, essentially, because he says that Charlotte actually killed her husband, and because he's kind of been having an affair with her, it's alluded to, he wanted to kind of help her out of this sticky situation. So he essentially goes about removing some evidence and making it look like it's a burglary gone wrong, by kind of trashing his apartment, or his house. But in the midst of doing this, he is caught in the act by the housekeeper of Charlotte and Jonathan, who he's not sure if she can recognise him, if she can place him, but he thinks she probably does. And so, he is on the lam for a murder he did not commit. Obviously, Hitchcock, like you said, a Hitchcock ploy, Hitchcock. He's just always so great at this kind of thing. Like, he's so fascinated by this thing of being accused of a murder you didn't commit and having to get yourself out of this awful situation. It's like literally the most Hitchcock premise you could think of, but always, well, not always, but 95% of the time it would always kind of be very effective and very entertaining. And it's a hell of a hook.
Yeah, Hitchcock loves making these films, and to be honest, I love covering them on the podcast. But Eve, played by Jane Wyman, she clearly has some sort of affinity to Johnny, who she's helping on the run, because, he drags her out of her stage rehearsals. It's great. The two main women in this film are both actresses, both at very different levels of their careers. Yeah. One is very much starting out in her career, and one of them is the headline act. Which one do we follow? Of course, the one at the beginning of her career. She is very good-hearted, and she takes Johnny to her father's place to hide out. Her father also has a boat, and her father also smuggles brandy. And her father's also played by Alistair Sim. He's so class in this film. He's so enjoyable. Every scene he's in, he is a delight, an absolute delight. But she goes full Nancy Drew and heads back to the scene of the crime to try and prove his innocence or figure out his innocence or prove um Marlene Dietrich's character's
Charlotte.
or prove that Charlotte is guilty. She's kind of got all that in her head, but when she gets to the crime scene, she can see there's a huge commotion outside. So she just quite astutely decides to follow one of the policemen to the pub after he leaves. And he is Ordinary Smith. Great name. It's not his actual name, but that's his name that he gets given by Eve for the rest of this film. I'm not going to bother getting into the semantics of who's pretending to be who and what, but there's a whole load of people pretending to be other people to get into situations to figure out more stuff. And it does get quite exposition-y, and it does get quite silly. The silliness I enjoy. The exposition stuff I can take without. But basically, Eve spends the majority of the rest of this film undercover trying to get Charlotte to trip up and confess, because she's convinced that her father has basically convinced her that Charlotte is planting this whole thing on her because he saw the dress with the blood on it from the crime scene, and he said that thing is smeared in blood. If she was just at the crime scene, it would just be a splatter. It wouldn't be like soaked in it.
Yep.
So he's convinced she's got Johnny, and she's gonna frame him for everything. Anyway, Eve has it in her head that she's doing this, so she's trying to figure out Charlotte's motive and everything. But in the meantime, she's also getting blackmailed by the maid, because she's trying to get information out of Charlotte by cosplaying as a replacement maid, and she's paying the maid to keep phoning in sick. But the maid has managed to turn this around and say, well, actually, I can just tell her that you've been paying me, so you better keep paying me, and you better keep paying me more. So we've got a whole blackmail side plot, but we'll not get too bothered in that, because the real meat of this film is Eve trying to prove that Charlotte is guilty of this crime, and her constant havings to blow poor Ordinary Smith off every time they make plans, because for some reason or another, there's another person in the room who would blow her cover in some capacity.
Yeah. There's a great scene at the carnival then where Commodore Gill, who's played by Alistair Sim,
so good.
Yeah, so he buys this, like, well, actually doesn't buy, he wins this doll because he can't afford to buy the doll.
I love how ridiculous that scene is. Like it's so overdrawn, but in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Where he has to win this doll because he can't afford it, so he has to play the duck shooting game. He hits a duck and the guy next to him claims it and is bigger than him. So then a proper short arse comes, so he does the exact thing to the short arse and he takes his doll. Yeah, it's so convoluted, but it's so fun as to like why he even wants this doll as well.
Yeah, and he uses that to essentially, Charlotte is doing this big performance in a tent. She's this like stage performer who's very, especially since her husband has died, who's only kind of exploded in popularity, and so she's essentially using her husband's death to further her own career. But he manages to kind of use this doll as a way of conveying that he has leverage over her, that he knows that she is responsible for this murder. Obviously, Marlene Dietrich is great in that scene as well, where she kind of realizes this person is onto me, I don't know who it is, why are you doing this? Great scene. Because we'd already gotten a scene a little bit earlier where Eve had overheard Charlotte essentially confess to Johnny that she had killed killed her husband, and that Johnny had revealed to her that he was lying about this, but he obviously says that he had kept the leverage off the bloodstained dress, which obviously again terrified Charlotte. But yeah, so you can see poor Charlotte is she's not having a great time at the moment. And then we get the final kind of confrontation where Smith finally realizes that Eve is working for Charlotte because she kind of has to help her out when she's kind of going through the ringer after this revelation. So he kind of realizes he's being played, and then he uh, kind of concocts this plan, sort of in conjunction with Commodore Gill, to actually ensnare the real killer at the theatre that night.
Yeah, so Ordinary Smith begrudgingly, I would say, accepts Commodore Gill's plan, which, again, is a little convoluted but fun, where Charlotte and Eve are going to be in a room together. It's going to be a mic'd room. Eve is going to threaten that she has the blood-soaked dress from the crime scene, even though way earlier in the film, in a moment of passion and stupidity, Johnny burned the dress, which could have proven his innocence had he been innocent. So she has to pretend that she has this as leverage and pretend to blackmail, or at least allude to blackmail, and see if Charlotte takes the bait. There's microphones everywhere, and the police will listen in. What no one accounts for is she, in this mic'd up room, does say, okay, I know what your dress you're talking about, but it's not soaked in blood. What happened was Johnny killed my husband. The blood splattered on my dress. I got changed, and then I went to the theater that night, which kind of ties into the story that Johnny told her, but obviously doesn't entirely, because the dress we have seen is absolutely soaked in blood. So Eve comes out quite deflated, because although she has admitted to being there as a witness to the murder, Charlotte still maintains that Johnny has killed her husband and that it wasn't her. Now, obviously, the conversation that Eve listened into earlier would suggest that Charlotte is playing him, and she kept kind of keeping Johnny on the long finger, being like, yeah, I'll get you out of the country, just you need to buy me time, which also sounds like her trying to get him caught and framed. So Eve has this in her mind when Johnny just plows into the stage. Police are all frantic. He does a runner, and the police chase after him. It's also worth noting earlier on in the film that even in Johnny's story, where he's innocent, the police get to his apartment and he just does a runner straight away. It's not like he's like giving them the light of day. He does a runner straight away, which instantly makes him look guilty. And again, he does the same thing. He's on the stage and everyone goes, Johnny, and he does a runner, and the police all run after him. Eve catches up to him, and then Ordinary Smith drops a bit of lore that none of us knew, which, you know, had we all known, there wouldn't have been a film. This guy, Johnny, has actually killed someone before and managed to manipulate the court system that he did it in self-defense. This guy has killed before, and I think he's going to kill again, because he's now hiding out with Eve. And as he says this, and everyone's fanning out looking for her, including Commodore Gill, our boy Alistair Sim, we see this dark, well-shot conversation where you can only see their eyes. They're hiding out somewhere in the back, where Eve says, like, Johnny, she wouldn't admit to it, but I know you're innocent. And then he turns around and goes, well, I did kill him. Johnny, what? But he's like, but she manipulated me. She pumped me full of lies, and she manipulated me into killing him. I was kind of left with no choice, and I had to do it. She knew that I have it in me because I've killed. And he admits then to her that he's done it before. And Eve goes, okay, well then you can plead insanity. And he was like, no, because it was all thought out and there's motive and everything. There's no way I could plead insanity. The only way I could plead insanity is if I killed someone randomly. Oh, Eve. So whilst everyone is looking for Eve, Eve is now basically trapped in a storage room with a murderer who's about to try and kill her. She geniusly just kind of gets up and brushes herself off and is like, no, forget it. I have a plan. And he starts following her, and then she legs it and locks the door and shouts that she's found him. So she, gets him caught. He does another runner, and then we get the big climax to this film, the big ending of this film.
Yeah, they managed to essentially drop the Iron Curtain to the stage on, I was going to say poor Johnny. Yeah, it's not really poor Johnny, but let's be honest, but on Jonathan. And yeah, that was the end of him as far as his life is concerned. Yeah, pretty gnarly ending, but it's also like this entire last kind of 5 to 10 minutes is really, really well shot from Hitchcock. Like you said,
Yeah.
that shot of their eyes, so you can only see the lights in their eyes, and their entire rest of the faces is enshrouded in kind of shadows and darkness is so brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, like it is obviously like a rug pull of a twist in terms of like, right, it's quite convenient that this information only came out now. You think they would have known about it, especially because like it's not like he changed his name or anything. But anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, look, it's a movie. It's don't overthink it. I think it's a pretty serviceable B thriller. I was just at the end of it, and it's alluded to that Eve and Ordinary Smith will potentially rekindle or kindle their romance. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's the end of the movie. That's stage fright, and yeah, I think it's a pretty serviceable B-list thriller from Hitchcock to start off this 50s arc.
Yeah. So worth noting as well, Patricia Hitchcock is in this
Yeah,
film. I just want to shout out Patricia Hitchcock for a few things. One, her character's name in this is Chubby Bannister,
Chubby Bannister.
which is an intentionally funny name, but then Hitchcock apparently was like, no, your character's name is Chubby Bannister because I always feel like I can lean on you. Which is like, all right, okay. And boy did he lean on her, because um she filled in as Jane Wyman's stunt double for the driving scenes.
Class.
So fair play to you, Patricia. Go on, Patricia. For those of you, Chubby Bannister, she's at the fair. She's one of Eve's friends. She has a few lines of dialogue. She's quite excited to meet Ordinary Smith. That's about all she does, but shout out Patricia Hitchcock. Um, Other than that, yeah, I quite liked the music in this film from Leighton Lucas. I thought it was a decent score, a very solid score. I actually kind of like the rug pull ending that he did do it, just because if you look at Hitchcock's filmography, they almost always didn't do it. So as a Hitchcock fan, it's almost a twist for the Hitchcock fans that the guy actually did do it.
Yeah,
So I actually enjoyed that personally.
I agree.
Overall, I really did enjoy this. I thought it was a really fun film. Again, as you said, it's a film. Don't overthink it. There's definitely scenes that necessarily need to be in here, and there's plot contrivances that could be explained away. But like, that's not what we're here for. We're having a good time with a Hitchcock 50s film. I think it's worth noting as well, Marlene Dietrich, and it's definitely because she's German, was given so much creative control, which is not a Hitchcock thing at all. She was allowed to light her own scenes. That's definitely because she's German, and he loved a bit of German expressionism, so he did. I'd say she probably went to a good school when it came to that sort of thing. Probably worked under some great German directors. So that's probably, I would assume, why he let her light her own scenes. Yeah, overall enjoyed it. Alistair Sim was my favorite part of this film. I just love how much he stands out. He's a proper character in this film. There's a few fun little side characters. There's a guy who has like Harry Potter glasses who keeps showing up at the wrong time. He's a fun hindrance to the plot. I like how irritating he is, and like intentionally irritating he is. And Hitchcock's cameo in this is maybe his most blatant and lazy one, where he walks past her in full shot like it's just Eve and Hitchcock turns and looks at her and then walks away. Very, very non-discreet Hitchcock cameo, which I actually enjoyed. Yeah, I gave it 3.5 stars because I just thought it was a really fun switch your brain off Hitchcock thriller. Obviously, the more intensive thinking ones, the ones that will resonate with you, are his upper echelon films. But this is a great one to go to if you just want an easy Hitchcock film. As I said, I would say a foreign correspondent, a saboteur, or in this case, a stage fright. I'd lump it in there with those lads. I think it's a really enjoyable one. What about you, Shane?
Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. Really like the opening, really like the ending, and I really like Alistair Sam's performance, but I think there's just a bit too much kind of bagginess in the middle. Like you said, not every scene needs to be there. That's fine. Like that's most movies really, or certainly a lot of movies. It's more so that I think, like you said, there's just a couple of side characters that really don't need to be in there. Like you could kind of take them out, and the movie wouldn't suffer at all from it. I think the stuff with the actual maid is a bit weird. Like it's fine. Like I get why it's another obstacle for Eve to overcome.
Yeah, bit of blackmail as well. It's Hitchcock, like.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, but it's probably a bit too egged on. I think Michael Wilding's fine, but nothing to write home about. But like I said, I really like the twist the twist is that he actually did do it. Like that's very much a nice. I remember that was the thing that I really came away thinking when I first saw it. Was like, oh, that's a great twist, because as a Hitchcock fan, even at the time in 1950, he'd done enough of these wrong man thrillers that's like you kind of would have been forgiven for thinking they were quite predictable. Even though they're always engaging and entertaining. But the actual twist in this movie that he was the murderer all along was a great little rug pull from Hitchcock, and it's really well executed in that scene. Yeah, I definitely recommend this. It's definitely like middle tier Hitchcock, but middle tier Hitchcock is still better than a lot of directors are capable also. So yeah, I recommend it.
And yeah, that was Stage Fright. I'm aware that we kind of just flew through that film. But yeah, it was I think it was described as like a moderate success at the box office.
Yeah.
It is followed, of course, by the incredible Strangers on a Train, which we'll cover next week, which celebrates its 75th anniversary this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, Stage Fright, as a first time watching it, I would definitely recommend it to the Hitchcock fans out there. And now, as I said at the top of this episode, we are going to do the draw for the Classic Film World Cup. I know last week we said we'd do guess the movie, but we're going to do the draw instead. Because, we got 3 rounds out of the L. Guess the movie last week. Shane is 9-8 ahead now, for those of you still keeping score. But it is time for the Classic Film World Cup draw. So, Shane, I will ask you to get a pen and paper if possible, or just on your computer. I'm going to draw the 32 countries, and then Shane will then have them all in their groups.
Yeah.
So it'll be groups A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. I'm going to draw these numbers, and Shane will be putting them then into their groups. I am just conscious that we haven't actually seeded them based on how good they are, because we've started with like Cairo Station, and which is like a class film, don't get me wrong, but do you know what? We'll just see how the draw goes. Well, I'm sure it couldn't possibly go wrong. There will be some groups of death, I'm sure. So, in Group A, we have Black Orpheus.
From
Brazil. In Group B, we have Madhumati from India.
Yep.
In Group C, we have Cairo Station from Egypt.
Yep.
In Group D, we have Black Girl from Senegal. In Group E, we have The Housemaid from South Korea.
Yep.
In Group F, this could be the group of death, we have High and Low from Japan. In Group G, we have The Battle of Algiers from Algeria.
Bob Ferguson's favourite film.
And in Group H, shit out Bob, by the way, we have Dragon Inn from Hong Kong. Group A is proving to be an interesting one because we have Santo and Blue Demon versus the monsters in it. Group B, joining Madhumati, is Metropolis. Group C, joining Cairo Station, is The Red Shoes. Tough group. Group D, joining Black Girl, is Wild Strawberries from Ingmar Bergman. In Group E, joining The Housemaid, is Rome Open City from Italy. Tough group. Group F, joining High and Low, is Nanak of the North from Canada. Group G, joining The Battle of Algiers, is Soy Cuba from Cuba. And Group H, of course, that means joining Dragon Inn, is Stagecoach from the United States of America.
Nice.
So we've already got some pretty tough groups shaping up. Time to throw in a third team into each group. So, in Group A is the Bitter Stems from Argentina. Oh my god. Group A, lads. Santo's going to be on the podcast. That's hilarious. Well, we don't know what the final one's going to be. In Group B, Day of Wrath from Denmark. In Group C, joining the Red Shoes and Cairo Station, is Battleship Potemkin.
Jesus.
In Group D, joining Wild Strawberries and Black Girl, is the 400 Blows from France.
Bro.
This is going to be what makes the groups of death, is this bunch, I think.
Yeah.
In Group E, joining Rome Open City and The Housemaid, is Viridiana from Louis Buñuel. In Group F, joining Nanak of the North and High and Low, is Spring in a Small Town from China. I think Kurosawa's got that one in the bag.
Yeah, probably.
In Group G, joining Soy Cuba and the Battle of Algiers, is The Cow from Iran. Which means that in Group H, with Stagecoach and Dragon Inn, is Dracula in Istanbul.
From Turkey.
And we have our final 8 going in. So we are going to really see Group A. I genuinely think, unless a certain film from Costas Gavras gets drawn here, I think we might be covering Santo on the podcast. Is The Harder They Come from Jamaica? I think it's safe to say that Mexico is obviously the host country of this classic film World Cup, and that's how they've ended up in this group. Group B, we have a minnow in that group. We have Skippy and the Intruders.
What country?
In Group C, Australia. Group C, we've Sambazanga from Angola. Group D, Jesus lads, Group D is the 400 Blows, Wild Strawberries, Black Girl, and Zed from Costas Gavras. That'll be an interesting one to see who on earth wins that group. Group E has After the Curfew from Indonesia. Group F has A Generation from podcast alumni Andre Vijja. Group G has Lake of the Dead from Norway. And Group H, that means, has Invention for Destruction from the Czech Republic. So Shane, once you are ready there, will you please call out the four films in each group?
So in Group A, from Brazil we have Black Orpheus. From Mexico,
Maybe.
we have Santo and Blue Demon versus the Monsters.
I think that's going to win it.
From Argentina, we have The Better Stems.
Yeah.
From Jamaica, we have The Harder They Come.
Minnows.
Group B, from India, we have Madhumati.
Mm-hmm.
From Germany, we have Metropolis. From Denmark, we have Day of Wrath. And from Australia, we have Skippy and the Intruders.
Okay, I think we both know what's winning that group.
Probably.
Yeah.
Group C, interesting group. Cairo Station from Egypt.
Class
The
one.
Red Shoes from the UK.
Oof.
Battleship Potemkin from the USSR.
Massive.
And Samba Zanga from Angola.
I don't see Angola winning that one, lads.
Probably not. Group D, Black Girl from Senegal.
Massive.
Sweden, Wild Strawberries.
Massive.
The 400 Blows from France.
Massive.
And Zed from Greece.
Huge. That is a crazy group.
Group E, we have The Housemaid, South Korea.
Yeah.
Rome Open City from, I have India here, but it's actually obviously Italy. Don't know why I have India.
Yeah.
Viridiana from Spain.
Yeah.
After the Curfew from Indonesia.
Big films in that group as well.
Japan, Group F, High and Low.
Mm-hmm.
Canada, Nanook of the North.
Mm-hmm.
China, Spring in a Small Town.
Yeah.
Poland, Andrzej Wajda's A Generation.
Could be a tough group, but I think we both know what's winning that.
Probably it. Group G, Algeria, The Battle of Algiers, which we saw there in college. Cuba, Soy Cuba.
Huge.
Iran's The Cow, and Norway's Lake of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And Group H, Dragon Inn from Hong Kong. Stagecoach from the USA. Dracula in Istanbul from Turkey. And Invention for Destruction from the Czech Republic.
Could you imagine if Dracula from Istanbul beat Stagecoach?
Probably not, I'll be honest.
Well, I think we've a rough idea of some of the films we're going to be covering on the podcast. So, other groups, there's at least two groups there where anyone could win. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see. Good for you, Santo. Mental how that worked out. So yeah, that is the group stages for the Classic Film World Cup. As we've explained before, on our Instagram, on our YouTube, we will then start posting matches. Each team in those groups will play each other once. You will vote for which one you want to win. Obviously, the team with the most votes wins that match. We do tables in each group, and the winner of each group gets covered on the podcast. And then, as we said, we'll let the tournament breathe. We'll let it happen. Last time we did a tournament like this, Ingmar Bergman won. He's going to have a much harder route of it this time, I think it's safe to say. So, yeah. That is the Classic Film World Cup draw. I cannot believe that Santo actually is. I mean, it's going to be class. We've talked about wrestling plenty on the podcast before, so who knows? Who knows? That might even be an episode where we get a guest. I don't know. I'm literally just throwing that in there off the top of my head. But who knows what happens with that? Who knows if Santo even wins that group? But yeah, that is the Classic Film World Cup draw. In the meantime, we will be covering Hitchcock's 1950s films, and next week is the incredible Strangers on a Train with the incredible return of Farley motherfucking Granger. In the meantime, though, I have been Harry Bailey.
I've been Shane Woodman.
And that was the episode of the Golden Hour Film Podcast where we covered Stage Fright from Alfred Hitchcock, kicking off our 50s Hitchcock arc. Thank you very much, and goodbye.